Welcome to Blue Collar Sports Talk. October 13th, Friday the 13th edition. We'll talk some Husker stuff. Number 10, USC, who is 6-0, is on the road at number 21, Notre Dame. Number 8, Oregon battles at number 7, Washington. Both are undefeated at 5-0. Another Pac-12 battle, both with one-loss teams. Number 18, UCLA, on the road at number 15, Oregon State. Over to the NFL. Both at a stellar 1-4. The Vikings are at the Bears. Both teams at 3-2. The Colts are on the road at the Jaguars. A battle of the one-loss Lions on the road against the one-loss Bucs. Monday night, the Cowboys take on the Chargers. We'll wrap it up with This Week in Sports and some final thoughts. And now, here's our show. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Blue Collar Sports Talk. October the 13th. Friday the 13th edition.
And October, Friday the 13th. It don't get better than that. I love it.
So, let's roll right into Husker volleyball, shall we?
Whew.
We are cruising this year. Undefeated overall matches, and we haven't dropped very many sets. And we're on a stretch of knocking off some top-rated teams.
Yeah, you know the bad thing about the run that they are on is when they lose, how disappointed we're going to be. And we should expect it. It's so hard to go undefeated in any sport, including women's volleyball. And, oh, man, they just play so well that you're just used to them. It's like, oh, you expect them to win every time, but it's just not possible.
And yet, I don't know. Yeah, I'm hoping this year, what I don't know about is I don't feel John Cook would lose the teaching opportunity if we lost. We have Penn State coming in on Saturday, the number 13, test. And Michigan State Friday. We just saw them last week.
Right.
Our team is hugely talented and very young. So honestly, in my mind, a couple of wins wouldn't be bad to ground them. I mean, a couple of losses. Right. But they're amazing. To prove this point, 3 times this year, true freshman Harper Murray was freshman of the week in the Big Ten. Twice, true freshman Bergen Riley was setter of the week. She's also been freshman of the week in the Big Ten. Merritt Beeson, who is an amazing player, great transfer, just huge. She has injected a lot of energy, a lot of experience, and is a great leader.
Yeah.
That is a true testament of what John Cook can do in trusting his players to activate a transfer as a captain. So Merritt Beeson is also one player, offensive player of the week in the Big Ten. And now this week.
Yeah, you got the junior outside hitter, Lindsey Krause, who I think Beeson coming on, showed her, hey, hit the ball hard, and she was named Big Ten player this past week. And again, we come up on the road, like you said, we got Michigan State again, we got Penn State, all getting ready for that big clash, Wisconsin.
Yeah. Last week on the road at Michigan State, now we battle Michigan State at home. If you're in the state of Nebraska, we all know Nebraska Public Media or Channel 12, whatever you want to call it. That's tonight's match. Normally, I have Fridays off, but I'm scheduled to work today. So I don't get to watch it, I'm going to guess. Or you can watch Nebraska Public Media online without having to watch it over the air antenna. Or if you subscribe to Big Ten Network Plus, BTN Plus.
Yep. I usually set the DVR and then I watch it in the morning while I'm eating breakfast and all that because you can fast forward the commercials.
Right. And then Saturday, Big Ten Network, 7 p.m. against Penn State. Yep. The other thing about Big Ten Plus, I subscribe specifically for that. You'd mentioned a replay. No matter what sport, they typically carry the replay, whether it's soccer, whether it's the baseball, whether it's the football. You'll be able to see the next replay. So what little I spend on that for a yearly subscription, I think is definitely worth it.
It's all it comes down to when they play the replay. Is it at a good time for you?
Well, and that's the great thing about Big Ten Plus. You can it's an on-demand thing, so you can.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay,
yeah.
Perfect.
And then it's very much like your DVR. You can go in and fast forward through all the stuff you don't necessarily need.
Oh, good.
Taking a quick peek ahead. So we have Penn State, Northwestern Wednesday of this upcoming week. And then Saturday, number 1 Wisconsin comes to Lincoln.
Yeah.
After that, we play Maryland, Rutgers, Penn State again, this time back in Pennsylvania, Rutgers again, Northwestern again, Illinois, Michigan, Iowa. We play Wisconsin again at the end of November, and then Minnesota. So we have a tough schedule here.
And, right now, we'll have to get on the line with Trev Alvarez. Maybe we can get him on the phone call before the show's over. Get that Wisconsin game in the Pinnacle. I mean, it seats more. It'll fill up in a heartbeat. Everybody wants to be there. Get that game over in the Pinnacle. Let's get a loud crowd and blast Wisconsin out.
Yeah, I'm not sure which holds more, Pinnacle or CHI Health Center.
Oh, CHI, I think, holds more, but
depending on how they set it up.
Yeah, I was about to say, it depends on where they put you, because there's a couple rooms in there. But I mean, just right here in the Pinnacle, I was in the Pinnacle, like 2,000, 2,500 more seats.
I don't know. Great question. I would have to do some research to find out exactly where we're at on attendance. We can do that. I can look that up, or we can go on to NCAA football. Which would you prefer to do?
We just go on to the football.
All right.
That could be another day. When we get close to the Wisconsin game, we'll have all those answers. I was just thinking it'd be so loud. They already sell out, right? And Wisconsin travel's pretty decent. So I think it would be amazing to put that in a bigger arena.
The other couple of things I wanted to mention, Nebraska, the Huskers volleyball team, leading the nation in defense this year.
Oh, yeah.
Their offense hitting, it's amazing. They're 11th nationally and 2nd in the Big Ten. We're also averaging almost 3 blocks a set. So it's a fun time. If you've never seen them, definitely tune into a volleyball match.
Yeah, a lot of the talk during the match is their defense. They're able to dig stuff out. Their blocks are amazing. They don't allow teams a hitting percentage above. It's been below 200 all year. I don't know what it's at now, but it was below 100 first few games. I think it's hovering around the 150 area. But, yeah, their defense is just on point. And like we said, numerous times on the show, defense wins championships.
And they have both. They have the defense to stop you, and then they also can come back and smack you in the mouth with a big fat set. So Mara Beeson's back row attack is crazy. I think her
10-footer, right?
Her back row attack might be even more on point than her in the front row.
Good Lord.
Or tied.
Right.
Just amazing.
Yeah.
We could go on and on and on.
Yeah.
Our Husker volleyball team is amazing. NCAA football.
Yeah.
Things are going to change next year so drastically.
And for the better, right? We think. Well, we hope. Let's say that. We hope. I think it's going to be for the better. I'm not a naysayer. I definitely think it's going to be for the better.
Yeah, USC is changing conferences. Oregon's changing conferences. Washington's changing conferences.
UCLA.
Yeah, UCLA. Okay, so all these quarterbacks are amazing in the Pac-12 right now. It's like a goodbye tour that is on par with some of the best rock bands out there that have rocked your face off for a better part of a decade. But these guys have been playing 3, 4, 5, 6 years. 6 years in the case of Michael Penix Jr. But going back to USC, they have a Heisman vote getter.
Oh, yeah. He won it last year. Right.
Caleb Williams won it last year. They're ranked number 10. They're undefeated.
And when you talk about the rock band thing, like the fans, like, why are you retiring? You're so awesome right now. The Pac-12 is the best conference in football, college football right now, as of 6 weeks through the season, and they're leaving. If the Pac-12 would have done some kind of homework, got them a real TV contract is what I'm trying to get at, a real payout, look at these guys. This is must-watch TV when you see these games coming up. Every week even College Game Day is almost living on the West Coast because the game after game is big game after big game, right? And then I know as much as we don't talk or want to, Colorado in primetime, people want to see it.
Oh, I want to talk about it because he is amazing at pulling that market share in the TV ratings.
Right. So the Pac-12, what a swing and a miss. These teams are gone. Daryl just said it. These guys are leaving. That's just to the Big Ten. We won't even mention the teams going to the Big 12 and to the ACC. So guess what? You're going to have to reset with probably a Mountain West, a Big Sky, whatever congratulation you do over there. Unfortunately, that must-watch now just moves on to the big conferences again.
And none of the teams that we mentioned or that are left in the Big 12 or the Pac-12 that haven't found any home yet, they're not a Notre Dame. They don't have the ability to carry an NBC contract outright for television rights, which Notre Dame has done for so long.
Yeah. Oregon State and Stanford, right? The two biggest dogs that are staying as of now.
So tomorrow we have a 6:30 evening matchup at Notre Dame. 5-2 have lost to Ohio State, a very tough loss to Ohio State, and a scrappy Louisville team. But I think Notre Dame and USC are kind of on par as far as evenly matched. Both are talented. Both may not have the best defense at times, but can get stops. And as of today, Notre Dame is favored at home by the 3.
The normal given 3.
Yeah, you're a home team, and they typically always give you at least 3 points when you're at home. And overs are set at 60.
Ooh.
So, which I see easily happening because you have Caleb Williams, who can put up tons of points. Now, they needed overtime to beat Arizona last week, and Notre Dame's coming off that tough loss on the road at Louisville. I feel that Notre Dame being favored is a little weird to me.
I disagree. I think Notre Dame's played the better football of the two. Even, you're right, Caleb Williams, and offense is great. That defense, I was watching the other day, and they said, well, the defense is on the field. They're really good, but they're on the field a lot because USC goes so quick that they score in under 2 minutes, and then the defense is back on the field. Okay, well, then change it. Because, like you just said, you went to overtime with an Arizona team that you gave up 41 points to. Well, it was triple overtime, so you were scoring. You still gave up 35 points to them. Colorado, 41 points, and by the way, almost let them come back. So, in Notre Dame on the flip side, I think they play way better defense. Only gave up, they lost 21-4. They beat Duke 21-14, held them to 14 points. And then that Ohio State game, that 17, it was 10 until that last play of the game, right? Gave them their 17. I think Notre Dame's defense is why they're favored. Yeah, they don't have that explosive offense, but I could see this being a 21-13, 21-14 game and Notre Dame coming out ahead. Huge rivalry, big game. I just don't see USC's defense stopping Notre Dame running and their play action.
And that's where I differ just a little bit. Just after what Louisville was able to do, because Louisville does have a little bit more powered offense, and they were able to get some more scores. And Notre Dame, since they do pound the rock a little bit more, and since they do try to get some stuff going, it's a little evenly matched. They're averaging a little over 170 yards rushing, a little over 260 yards passing. But on the flip side, USC is almost 360 yards passing per game and almost 170 yards rushing. So I think Notre Dame has their hands full, and I think they drop to 5-3 after this. And I think USC and Caleb Williams figures out how to get it done.
What I like about Notre Dame, only 150 yards passing. I mean, even though Louisville had that decent game, they're still only giving up. So it's not inconceivable for Caleb only to have 200, 250 yards passing and maybe a pick or so. Other thing with Notre Dame being at home, their quarterback, I don't know his name. He's great. I don't know if I remember saying it beginning of the year.
Hartman,
yeah. They don't usually get a lot of really good quarterbacks. They've had a few, and we've talked them up. Your Brady Quinns, your Pauluses, those other guys that you're like, oh, they're really good. No, they're not. This guy, I like Hartman. I think I've watched him play a few times this year. They've been on TV. Obviously, Notre Dame. They've had some big games. Ohio State, the Duke game. I like him. I would like Notre Dame in this game. One thing I think is going to be is from start to finish, it'll be a game. Kind of like the Ohio State, the Duke game's going to be. So I can't say must-watch TV, but a very good one. If you want to see a good Pac-12 team, what Pac-12's doing, and Notre Dame, get a conference. I mean, you'd have so many more of these games, right? If they would just get in a conference and play teams on the regular.
I kind of enjoy that, what Notre Dame does. Every year they pick out some different teams that are in the rankings, in the higher rankings, and every year they're great games. And that's the unfortunate side of it, why Notre Dame doesn't get to the college football playoffs until maybe next year, because they're going to expand it to 12. But you're still looking at teams that are in bigger conferences like the SEC and Big Ten, which have bigger fan draws potentially, or have fans in the college football playoff offices that would rather see other teams get there. So next year, it should be crazy to see what happens when they expand it.
So my thing, and my brother's a huge Notre Dame fan. We talked, he talked about it and asked me. I'm worried for Notre Dame in the scheduling conflict because, as you just said, when these conferences go big, I don't have a whole lot of out-of-conference games left. And if I'm playing, just hypothetical, right? If I'm playing Nebraska playing USC, UCLA in one season, you throw in either a Michigan or Ohio State. I already have Wisconsin. I got Iowa on my thing. I don't need my strength of schedule any stronger. There's 5 solid teams. So when I get my out-of-conference, I'm going to take a cupcake or two because I want to make sure I get my guys going at the right time, right? I think the same thing on these biggers when Oklahoma, Texas moves over to SEC. Those SEC schools like, hey, these guys are going to give me strength of schedule. I don't need a Notre Dame. I worry that Notre Dame's strength of schedule might keep them out of the top 12. I mean, they might go 10-1 or 11-1, whatever it is, but they might not have a big win on there because they all schedule each other in their own conference, right? I don't know. I worry for them as these big conferences come at who they can schedule.
And 2 of our next teams we're going to talk about are going to a big conference, leaving the Pac-12. Number 8, Oregon, at number 7, Washington.
Oh, I love this game.
Washington ranks number 1 in total offense, number 1 in passing yards, and number 3 in scoring. Michael Penix Jr. is in his 6th year. He has over 10,000 career yards passing and over 4,500 last year. Last year, he had over 4,500 yards passing. This year, he's nearly at the 2,000 mark.
To me, these are the top 2 Heismans right here. My opinion, Nix and Penix. My goodness. I mean, you're just reading the numbers. It's 330 yards passing for Oregon, 445 for Washington a game. Nix 15 touchdowns, only 1 pick. Penix 16 touchdowns, only and 2 picks. This game is bigger than, my opinion, bigger than Oklahoma, Texas was last week.
So you'd mentioned these 2 guys are the top in the Heisman. I think Hartman might be a better quarterback than Nix because if you look at the numbers, Hartman has already thrown 1,700 yards, 16 touchdowns against 3 picks. And then if you look at Bo Nix's numbers, they're up there, don't get me wrong. Almost 1,500 yards, 15 touchdowns, but 1 interception.
Right.
1 interception. That's crazy.
Yeah, and the only thing Oregon, I think, is more balanced. I mean, when you look at they're rushing for 230 a game, where Washington's only 120, and I think Notre Dame's around the mid-100s or just over almost 2. So Oregon's balanced attack takes away from Nix. But yeah, again, that's why I say I love Hartman. I just saying when we had talked about Caleb Williams, he had won it last year. I think he has dropped. And Washington has played a few teams this year, right? So you're talking about they the Cal, 59 points. Michigan State, 41 points. And then Oregon, we know it happened in the Colorado game. And then last week at Stanford, 42-6, 42-6, their last two games.
Well, even Arizona. Washington played Arizona, and Arizona took USC to, what do we say, triple overtime? Yeah. So you're right. Washington is a very good team.
Yeah.
Great team.
Right. But they won't beat Oregon.
Here's the other thing about Bo Nix. He doesn't have the passing yards as a few of the other guys. But in his 5 games that he has played, he has only been in the fourth quarter just a little bit. He has only attempted 14 passes in the final 15 minutes through 5 games.
Right.
So they're always up so far that they don't really necessarily need him in there. So they put in a backup or they run out the clock and they don't need him passing.
Yeah. First game of the season, well, we won't count that as a nobody, 81-7. But they had Texas Tech September 9th, 38-30. So I'm guessing he probably played the most of the fourth quarter. Then after that, 55-10, 42-6, 42-6. Yeah, I don't have Bo Nix in the fourth quarter. You're going to go ahead and Ryan, we get the, like what Nebraska likes to do, right? You get those young guys some playing time. I love Oregon in this game.
You love Oregon? You're taking Oregon?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. We've talked about it a few times at work and different places. It's great. It's at Washington. I get it. But Oregon's defense carries and a run game. Again, Oregon runs for 230 a game. Washington runs for just over 120. Now, giving up, Washington gives up 120, and Oregon only barely gives up 100 yards a game rushing. That defense in the Pac-12, which they finally discovered, is for real. Washington plays good D. Oregon plays it better.
Oregon plays amazing defense. Washington is favored by 3, and the overs are set at 67, which I think is nuts considering Oregon's ability to stop people that have explosive offenses. And you hit it. 6 points, Colorado. Colorado could only muster 6 points. Stanford could only muster 6 points. Not that good. They did allow Hawaii to get on the board, 10 points, and then Texas Tech. Texas Tech has a decent offense, and they allowed them 30. That was early in the season. But since then, they've really clamped down.
Yeah. Yeah, first game is, well, they had that, I don't even know what PRST is. It's a nobody, the cupcake, 81-7. And I'm guessing that 7 points came in the fourth quarter where the third and fourth string guys were on the field.
Everybody who's a Portland State Knights fan that listen, don't think they're nobody, but I understand what you're saying. No, I get it.
Portland State Knights, huh?
Yeah, Portland State Knights.
Nice.
All right, you're taking Oregon. I still haven't flipped my coin yet because this, honestly, to me is kind of a flip of the coin. Yeah, Oregon is better on defense. They are.
And running the ball.
Right. Washington is great on offense. And they got it done against Arizona and didn't need to have triple overtime. They got it done against Cal and put up a lot of points, but they let Cal score a lot of points. So I'm going to give it to Washington. That being said, I agree with you. Oregon can easily get it done. Oregon could easily win.
I just look at it. If you take the two quarterbacks who we both agree that they're really, really good. If they cancel each other out, their passing game, what does the other team have to offer? And again, Oregon has an amazing running game on top of their defense. And if they ball control it or just puts together a few drives and give their defense a rest as opposed to Washington's, again, I can't wait. I will have that on the DVR, watch it. I want to see that game because, unfortunately, for the Pac-12, we'll get into this later, I believe, I don't think a one-loss Pac-12 gets in because they don't get the love. But Washington, Oregon, USC, UCLA, they're all going to beat up on each other, right? Oregon State, 5-1. UCLA's 5-1. After this game, one of these teams are going to be 5-1. You know, so they're going to beat up on each other, and a one-loss Pac-12 team better get some love when it comes to playoffs.
In the last few years, they've always had a one-loss team in the college football playoffs. And
from what conference?
Yeah, SEC or Big Ten.
Right.
Okay, so last year, Ohio State and Michigan both got in, and both played each other in the earlier in the season.
Yep.
And one of them still got in without loss. A few years ago, Alabama ran through the SEC and then met up in the SEC championship and then got a loss, but still got in. Just last year, TCU ran through everybody, met Kansas State in the Big 12 championship. The tables got turned because they've seen each other a couple times and they lost, but they still got in the college football playoffs. I agree with you. I don't think that happens in the Pac-12, and it's unfortunate.
Right.
Yeah, because Roger thought the same thing. They beat up on each other through the Pac-12 this year the entire time. Great teams, amazing scoring potential. And Oregon, like you say, great defense, can stop anybody.
Yeah, and just mentioning those teams, those 5 are all in the top 20. USC, Oregon, Washington, UCLA, and Oregon State. That's not a bad loss. You can't punish them for number 7 Washington or number 8 Oregon losing to the other one by 3 points, right? When Notre Dame lost to Ohio State was in the top 5. Notre Dame was 7-8. They lost by a last-second score. That's a quality loss for your team. Now, when they lost to Louisville, obviously that took them completely out of the national title. But, yeah, you're right. It sucks for USC, for the Pac-12, when those teams, you just got to hope one comes out unscathed. Pac-12's praying one comes out unscathed.
Here's a crazy what if.
Uh-oh.
What if football had a very similar setup as basketball when it came to crowning a national championship? Now, we have a playoff, right, but expanding it to more teams just beyond the 12.
Oh.
And that would play into your whole season almost. Just, do you think it's viable? I don't think it'll ever happen, personally. I think it would be amazing to see some of these teams have to start their season off against a Georgia and Alabama playing right away and not wait until the very last. And you'd have more of these teams coming into the end of the season with 2 or 3 losses, but they're still great teams.
I guess I'm missing how you're talking about that would go. You play your regular season and then say a 32-team playoff, or
yeah, you structure it however you want to in your mind, but it would be similar to how they do it with basketball.
Right. Yeah, the big tournament. So to me, I was like, you have an 8-game season, right? Because it's going to take a while to get through a 32-game, right? You have an 8-game season where it's strictly conference. You take your 8 conference games, no out of conference. Sorry, Notre Dame. And then you pick your 32 teams. And then, then that we go through and all the way 16, 8, 4 championship. That would be cool. But yeah, you'd have to make it part of the season or else we're going to be playing into March, right?
Right. You would have to make it part of the season.
Yeah.
And I don't think football fans would mind them playing through March. Right. You would have a lot more injuries, I feel. You would have coaches really, really upset about the whole scenario, I think.
You would start week 0. You'd get through 8 games by the end of October. So, then we'd probably end close to the Super Bowl right before it if you do it, once a week type thing. And the only thing is you'd have new rivalries because in that 32-team field, when you get matched up, it's going to be random as hell, right? So, your 8 teams would be your, hey, again, you can only lose 1 or 2 if you want a good seeding. So, that'd be crazy.
The number 18, UCLA, 4-1 on the road. Number 15, Oregon State. Again, Pac-12 has amazing talent this year.
Just saying.
And Oregon State's favorite at home, 3.5, over set at 54.5. And how this conversation started is earlier in the week, James and I were talking, why is it certain conferences are allowed that loss and still able to get in and not the Pac-12? And should it be reconsidered? But we don't have the power.
Well, they were always considered, no defense. They were weak, but they'd go to the Rose Bowl and battle a Big Ten team to the end, or actually win. I remember Iowa went in there to the Rose Bowl and was all hyped up and ended up losing. So, the Pac-12, again, just don't get no love. They're out there west, like we have said before. They come on late. No one gets to see them, right? They're putting on a great show. Here we got 2 teams, 18 and 15, 1 loss. Whoever loses this game, which oh man, it's a tough out. This is my coin flip. It has to play spoiler rest of the year, right? Because they're going to have 2 losses. They're out. So their only hope is to ruin someone else's season.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. I think Oregon State gets it done, just being the home team.
Yeah. That on the coin flips, that's who gets the nod, right? As the home team. I don't like Washington State. I'm sorry. Yeah, Washington State and Oregon State battled. Washington beat them 38-35. UCLA just handled Wazoo 25-17 last week, only giving up 17 to a very decent, by the way, another Pac-12 team. And Daryl, we haven't even mentioned Utah yet.
Oh, I know. Yeah. And Utah has played both of them.
And I'm not trying to sell anybody on the Pac-12.
Which is crazy because the Oregon State team beat Utah and then UCLA can't beat Utah.
Exactly. Right. Nuts. But you know what? I'm going to be a Big Ten homer on this one, and I'll go UCLA. Again, balanced attack, 250 to 200 on rushing passing. And oh, by the way, Oregon State, 250, 200 rushing passing. But UCLA is only giving up, as of now, 65 rushing yards a game, and Oregon State's giving up just under 100 rushing a game. So for the same way I picked Oregon, I will pick UCLA. Strong running game, strong run defense. Carries to the road. I will take UCLA on the road to beat Oregon State. And my father-in-law, he's a big UCLA fan. He went there, he played for them. So let's take UCLA over at Oregon State today.
There's a few different sites out there that have college football predictors for who's going to end up in the college football playoffs. You have a 1-loss Texas and a 1-loss Alabama ahead of a undefeated Michigan team, ahead of an undefeated Penn State team, ahead of an undefeated Washington, USC, Louisville, North Carolina. The predictor as of today has Oklahoma being the top since they knocked off Texas.
Okay.
Followed by Ohio State, then Georgia, and then Oregon.
Okay, that makes sense to me. Because right now they have a quality wins. Obviously Ohio State beat Notre Dame. Oklahoma beat Texas. Texas beat Alabama. But yeah, I can't imagine a 1-loss Texas or Alabama being ahead of Michigan or Penn State because they have to play. Well, again, Big Ten's going to beat each other up, right? On a different note, Penn State, Michigan, and Ohio State, all 3 undefeated, all 3 play each other.
Right, and they're all going to meet.
Right.
And that's why I brought this up, because next year it changes completely because you go then to the 12 team.
Yeah, and so then you could afford 1 loss. If, say, Penn State and Ohio State come out with only the 1 loss between the 3 of them, they would both get in. Michigan getting the 2 losses would probably be the out. Or, it had to be Michigan. One of those 3 teams are going to have the 2 losses. The other 2 teams would have 1. The 1-loss team, you can get in as 1 loss. Alabama would be in this year, right? At least 1 Pac-12 team would be in for sure in the next year in the 12. But guess what? They're not going to be there, right? Those teams will be in the Big Ten. The Pac-12 is going to be politely on the outside looking in. Unfortunately, unless Oregon State plays like it does this year, next year, and can really take over the Pac-12 between them and Stanford.
Right. So what does a team like Louisville, who just knocked off Notre Dame, what do they have to do to get noticed? What does Florida State, who's also 5-0, have to do to get noticed? Because Miami just dropped a stupid game.
Oh my gosh.
By not kneeling down. So, and that's not the first time their head coach Cristobal did that.
Right.
He did it at a different school, but now he did it again at Miami. But you have those seasons where you go undefeated. And this all plays into next year. The what if next year. If we do this next year and if we have an undefeated season next year, will we be one of the 12? Unfortunately, maybe not, because they are going to pick some of the top in each of these new expanded extra power. They're going to call them Power 3 conferences now?
Well, but a lot of this is going to even itself out, right? Like Florida State sitting at number 4, 5-0, but also you have, like you said, Louisville 6-0. They're going to meet up. You have conference championships for a reason. So if you get there and you're both undefeated, your one loss is going to keep you in that top 12. Will get you in there. But these other ones, Duke 4-1, they're going to be on the outside. They need to make another big win and push. Carolina 5-0 again. The conferences will even themselves out as the season goes on because these teams will play each other.
So the next time Oklahoma and Texas play, because I don't see anybody else playing for the Big 12 championship.
Same. Yep, agreed.
Oklahoma win again? Or do they take a loss like last year, what happened between Kansas State and TCU, and then Texas wins, but they still both go in?
Yeah.
And then, if that happens, who's the fifth team out? Because I don't see Georgia losing again.
No, they have a very weak schedule.
And Ohio State, Michigan have to play each other.
Yeah, again, including Penn State.
So whoever loses the Big 12 championship, are they completely out then?
Yeah, unfortunately for you OU fans, if they do blow it and Texas wins that, I believe because of the win against Alabama, right? And they had one other win, and they beat Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship. Yeah, unfortunately, Oklahoma would be out with their one loss, unfortunately. What's a bigger win, regular season week 5 or conference championship?
All right, so close your eyes and you're in a suit and you're in a fancy college football playoff office and you get to be the guy who makes the decision ultimately, and you're making a 6-figure salary and you're setting up the college football playoff.
And Georgia's undefeated. They're in, right?
Yeah.
Say Michigan, hypothetical, Michigan beats Ohio State.
I don't see Georgia getting beat in the SEC championship.
No. Because that other side is, what is it going to be? Kentucky or, somebody over there who they just annihilated Kentucky.
And I recently said Georgia started out slow, but something awoke in them against the Kentucky game. Yeah. And now I don't see them slowing down at all.
All the talk. Remember going into Kentucky can push them. Is this the trap game, blah, blah, blah. And Georgia was like, whoa. Yeah, we have been kind of shaky. Yeah, they worked. Yeah.
They worked it out.
So Georgia, Michigan both in, say with their winnings, right? So Ohio State's out. Hypothetically, Florida State goes undefeated in the ACC, wins ACC title. They're in. So there's your 3 right there. Big Ten, SEC, and ACC. And then now it's what's left. So I have a one-loss Texas team just beat Oklahoma. I have an undefeated Oregon team that won the Pac-12. Or I have an undefeated USC team that won the Pac-12. I'm taking that undefeated team out of the Pac-12 because their strength of schedule would be bigger than Texas or Oklahoma.
And weren't we having a similar conversation last year about Oregon? We didn't see them having a hiccup, and then they did.
They did, right.
Yeah. So, and that's why this is fun.
Yeah.
Because we don't have a crystal ball.
No.
We don't see the future, and anything crazy could happen. Someone could have just a crazy game against a team that should have no business having this crazy of a game and knock somebody out of the college football playoffs.
Yeah. And if the rankings stay the same, Texas is going to hover around 7-10. And if they beat a number 4 Oklahoma, but Oregon is still undefeated, Oregon's in. You're going to have 4 undefeated teams, all conference champions. I don't think the committee really has a whole lot to worry about on that one.
All right, let's switch gears to the NFL. The NFL.
So did you go Notre Dame or USC?
I went... Let's take a look here.
I don't remember. Sorry.
All right. So for the USC Notre Dame game, I went USC.
Okay.
You went Notre Dame. And we split against the Oregon-Washington game. I took Washington. You took Oregon.
Right.
I took the Beavers.
Oh, so we went opposite State. All the way down.
Yep. And you took UCLA.
That's funny. So
in the NFL, we were talking, James and I were talking earlier this week, what should we talk about? And we bonded over what we should talk about, and one of them is who is going to get their second win, the Vikings or the Bears? Does it end in a tie and both stay 1-win teams?
That would be funny.
Yeah, fantasy football players and Vikings fans are probably bummed Justin Jefferson is on IR.
4 weeks.
Yeah, so who steps up on the Viking side to make up for Jefferson being out, or does a former Maryland Big Ten player, DJ Moore, have another breakout 230-yard, 3-touchdown game for the Bears?
Yeah, real quick, I know that's not on the schedule. I just want to go back to your ponies last night. played amazing defense. They held Kansas City to 4 field goals, by the way, 1 touchdown. That's pretty impressive on the road at Kansas City. Granted, offensively, there's turnovers, there's a lot of mistakes, but holding the Chiefs to 4 field goals, I thought that was pretty good for a defense that's been giving up, obviously, 28 points in the first half to the Bears, 70 points to Miami, and playing pretty good football lately. So those of you that saw that game last night, yeah, the Broncos lost again, we get it, but I really like that defense holding Kansas City to 4 field goals, by the way. And yeah, so Minnesota Bears. Minnesota have a great defense. We were talking about it last night with Justin Fields, and there's so many people that like Justin Fields. I guess I'm just not one of them. I'm not sold. I love Kirk Cousins. When we were comparing numbers, everybody was trying to tell me. Then when I was comparing the numbers and showing them, he's not up there. He's not even the top 10. So, call it what you want, say what you want, take your Justin Fields and the Bears. Unfortunately, the Bears defense hasn't traveled as well, hasn't played as well as we used to see in the Bears defense. But just like last night, right? This is a division game. Broncos division, they know Kansas City. Kansas City knows the Broncos. Beat them, 12, 13 times straight now, whatever it is. Division games mean they know each other well. But I will take the Vikings as a more complete team, even without Justin Jefferson. Maybe they get their run game going finally, right? They have to lean on that a little bit more. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, both 1 wins. Yeah, if they end in a tie, Daryl, that would be extremely funny.
So you had hit me with some interesting stats earlier in the week about pocket presence and pocket time. And Kirk Cousins is actually up there with the amount of time he has in the pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Yet he has 1 win. And Justin Fields, he doesn't have an offensive line, really, or because he's getting almost 3 seconds in the pocket, but he's been sacked 20 times already.
Holds on. He just holds the ball. Just holds it.
And Kirk Cousins has been sacked 13 times, hurried 14, knocked down 33. Let's see. Where are you at on the interceptions, you guys?
5 and 5, I believe. I know Fields has 4. Kirk Cousins has 4. 13 touchdowns, 4 picks, 11 touchdowns, 5 picks.
Fields is at 62%, passing the ball a little over 1,100 yards, and Kirk Cousins is at 67% for almost 1,500.
Yeah. And those sacks, Fields believes he can get away, right? So he doesn't mind holding the ball and trying to use his athleticism to get away from the would-be tackler, but then he gets sacked. Cousins knows he's not getting away, so he's going to throw it away.
Yeah.
So the sack numbers are kind of hard to read. You're like, I want to play the O-line. No, he's had time to throw the ball, but he thinks his escapability. Same thing with Russell Wilson. Same thing with Zach Wilson. Jordan Love for the Green Bay starting to figure out that those D linemen are pretty darn fast, and oh, by the way, they're strong.
I think the Vikings get it done on the road. There's just no way around it. The Bears are pitiful. The Vikings have dropped some games this year that have made me wonder are they as pitiful as everybody else, but they can still score and they can still put up a lot of yards. They don't have the best rushing attack, so it puts more pressure on Kirk Cousins to get it done. But I think somehow they get it done, even without Justin Jefferson, even it looks like Jordan Addison is questionable. And one of their running backs is also on IR. But I just think that the Bears are in more of a dire situation overall than the Vikings, and the Vikings can eke out a win.
Yeah, Bears are giving up 300 yards passing, almost 400 yards offense. They're giving up. Their defense is giving up, but the Minnesota's only 360. So yeah, defensively, the Bears have issues, and if Fields turns the ball over at all, and all of Minnesota's losses are they're like Nebraska. They're 1-score losses. I mean, 20-17, 34-28, 28-24, 21-13, 8 points. So I needed a 2, or they won that one. Sorry, they won 21-13. And then they lost to Kansas City 27-20. one-score games all right there. And obviously...
They also put up 28 points against a very tough Eagles defense.
Yeah. So, I like Minnesota in this one, and mainly it's just...
Their strength of schedule is just crazy because you've already played Tampa Bay, and a lot of people wrote off Tampa Bay, but Baker Mayfield is bringing them back, and he's surging. Right. Philadelphia is just on a tear like they were last year. The Chargers aren't necessarily looking horrible. They haven't won every single game, but they're not losing every single game either. And Carolina, I don't know what's going on with Carolina, but the Chiefs are obviously strong. And to be within 7 of them,
yeah,
I think that's respectable. So you're also going Vikings?
Oh, yeah, definitely going Vikings. Nothing against my Bear fans. I love you guys, but I don't just point the finger at Justin Fields, but I think he's one of the main problems wrong with that offense right now is Justin Fields.
October 31st trade deadline's coming up. I don't know if anything would help the Bears. I think it might help the Vikings if they try to find maybe a running back or another wide receiver. Yeah.
Maybe they get Judy from the Broncos.
They're having a fire sale over there. It's weird.
Yeah.
They've already traded a few people away, and I don't see it stopping between now and the end of the season. At least even cutting some stuff. Even though they're not winning, Russell Wilson is still in the top half and possibly the top quarter of quarterback efficiency and ratings. But even though he can't get a win, a rookie quarterback, Anthony Richardson for the Colts on IR, was having a great start of the season.
He's my favorite in the draft. I loved him out of all the 5 that they were looking at. I was hoping he'd sit a year, let Minshew play.
Gardner Minshew is amazing.
Yeah. He came in, a couple weeks ago when he was in that concussion protocol and played extremely well. But the Jags, man, talk about a Jekyll and Hyde team. I don't know to pick them or not pick them or win too.
In my mind, the only way that the Jaguars won against the Bills over in London is that the Bills didn't prepare well enough by going over there late. They looked jet lagged. They looked out of sorts. They looked like a team that was tired, and they were. They only had gotten there 4 days prior to the game starting, and they didn't get the timing. What their timing was off. So when you go and travel halfway across the world, and you're on a different sleep schedule.
6 hours.
Right.
Yeah.
It messed with them. So I see this, even though the Colts are on the road, both of them are at 3-2. And even though Vegas, or I shouldn't say Vegas anymore because you can bet just about anywhere anymore. Even though the odds makers have the Jaguars favored at 4, I'm taking the Colts.
Oh, okay.
I'm taking the Colts to upset them.
Jags are 3-1 overseas, by the way. If anybody wants to make some money, when the Jags play overseas, whatever country it is, pick them. They have it down. They know when to get there, how to do the sleep, how to adjust quickly. Yeah, 3-1, traveling like that, that's pretty impressive. They're basically a home team. The fans are really fall in love with the Jags. I like Jacksonville at home. They play really, really good D. And by the way, the Colts do too. Jags are only giving up 80 yards rushing, though, to 120 given up by the Colts. With Etienne in the backfield, Jacksonville doesn't run the ball as well. Colts do. Taylor's back, by the way. Jonathan Taylor's, activated or whatever. I don't know what kind of touches he gets this game, how much he'll actually play. He's a lot like Pollard for Cowboys, we'll get to later. These guys are in 1-year deals. You're kind of auditioning for a bigger contract, so you might want to do something, by the way. But I'm going to go Jags at home, and only mainly because they're at home and they have their starting quarterback. Even though I love Gardner Minshew as a backup, he does really extremely well. I'll take Jacksonville at home.
My main reason for taking the Colts, they've already seen each other. Very first game of the season.
Yep.
And Jacksonville took one from them in Indianapolis.
31 points.
And, they lost. The Colts lost by 10, 31-21. I feel the Colts learned from that, and I feel that they really want to right the ship, per se. And at 3-2, this is a pivotal game. So the Colts go in, do a lot of preparedness, film watching. What do they do well? What weaknesses do they have? And they come in and they shock them, and they move on to 4-2, and the Jags go to 3-3.
3-3, yeah. Again, when we came in, Jacksonville supposedly was supposed to run away with this division, right? They were the teams returning from the most. They had the playoffs. They were going to be, and 2 silly losses. And here they are, like I said, going for, well, actually, the Texans are leading that right now. So they're both looking up to a Houston Texans team, by the way, I think me and you picked to be in last when we did our preseason divisions, right?
So I got to ask you, you think it was a silly loss against KC?
They had it.
But they lost. They only put up 9 points, and it was a tough battle.
Yeah, but at the end of the game, they had 2 or 3 chances in the fourth quarter that they were holding. They were holding Kansas City, and it was just, kind of like watching the Cowboys against the 49ers, where you're like, just catch the ball, right? Just make that first down. It was, to me, a silly plays. Yeah, I say silly loss. You're right. It was Kansas City. They were at home, though, with a chance. So I'll give you that one, but you shouldn't be giving up 37 points to Houston.
No, I understand. I wanted to see if you think that they should have beat that. And you're right. There was a couple of things that went wrong, and it was silly in the way that they gave up the game.
Right.
And not necessarily silly that, hey, they should have went in there and beat them. So, okay, I understand. I understand what you're saying. I just wanted to clarify where we're at on that.
I watched a lot of that game. Obviously, it was on here locally, right? Kansas City fans, if you look at them, they're not dominant. Yes, they're winning games, and that's all that matters, right, is the W in the column. But they're not like last year. Like that game right there against the Jags, it should have been more. Last night against the Broncos should have been a lot better. They held you to 4 field goals. It's not good, So.
Everybody can game plan around it. All you have to look at, who is their top receiver. Right now, it's Kelsey. Does he throw to anybody else? There was only one other game that he had over 4 or 5 different targets to, but typically he has one main target. And if you can figure out a way
to neutralize that one,
or take 2 or 3 touchdowns away from him and make him go to somebody else.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Kansas City, I don't think they have lost people due to free agency. Tyreek Hill's gone, right? A couple of running backs they've lost. Another wide receiver they've lost. So, yeah, Kansas City is very beatable. Teams have let them off the hook with different plays, turnovers here and there. So, yeah, I like Jacksonville to win this division. They have an uphill battle right now trying to catch Houston. But I still think the Jags are a very good football team and can still win that South.
And we started talking about Kansas City because they played Jacksonville.
Right.
I think Kansas City looks for a few weapons here before the trade deadline is up.
They at least wide receiver, they got to.
Man.
Because that Tony, he's playing a little bit better here and there, but he hasn't been the answer they were looking for, right?
So we'll see what happens before the trade deadline for all the teams, but it's fun to speculate.
Yeah, and Denver, don't you be trading Judy to a division rival, Kansas City, by the way. Don't do it.
I don't know what's going on with Denver. I don't
know they're trading him. I'm just putting that out there because
they said they're shopping him.
Right.
So, yeah. Okay, moving on. Who has more to prove? The Lions or Baker Mayfield?
Oh, my.
4-1 Detroit. 4-1 Detroit. On the road, 3-1 Tampa.
And you called it earlier in this year, and I totally disagreed with you. But the whole Baker Mayfield thing, you said, Baker did this and that, and I was like, yeah, he's still mediocre. He has started this season off 7 touchdowns, only 2 picks, only 880 yards passing. But again, he has them 3-1. Wow. I would have not had guessed that. Wins of Atlanta. I'm sorry, wrong one. So they beat New Orleans, obviously the Bears, but they beat Minnesota and they beat Baltimore. So their one loss right now is to a Philadelphia team, 25-11. Obviously, Philly plays good defense. They held to 11 points. To me, though, the most complete team who's running away with the North, which, I think we both picked Detroit. I know I picked Detroit. I'm not sure if you picked Detroit or Minnesota, but Detroit's amazing. They really got it going. Campbell has that team. Oh, man, he has them so good. I love the mentality that they've got this away from the, we're just Detroit. We're 8-8. We're just kind of going, we're just here for a schedule guy. He has them, no. You guys are winning, and they are. Detroit has beat Carolina, beat Green Bay, beat Atlanta. Their one loss is overtime to Seattle, which was mind-boggling that they gave up so many at the end of the game. There was tied at 31 going to overtime. But Detroit, to me, I think, I don't have anything to prove because everybody knows, but this would be another real big feather in their cap to go into Tampa Bay and take out Tampa Bay, and a very, very good defense, by the way.
Jared Goff, number 1 pick overall in 2016, drafted by, of course, the Rams. He's now in his 3rd year with the Lions, who 6 of their last 7 road games, dating to last fall, are trying to go in and hand Tampa Bay their 2nd loss, with Detroit hopefully going to 5-1. Does it happen? The Lions are the league's highest scoring teams right now, one of them, averaging almost 30 points through week 5. 14 consecutive games with 20-plus points. But Baker Mayfield, man, he's got that chip on his shoulder. He really does. He wants to prove everybody wrong. And that change of scenery to Tampa Bay, I don't know if it's the coaching that got them to do this.
Yeah, he clicked with something when he got there, right? There had to be something because he went to Carolina, could barely make the starting lineup, couldn't even get the starting role for crying out loud after, he left Cleveland. Went to the Rams, did some nice things, but they obviously had Stafford, so they're like, yeah, we don't need you. So they let him go. He, him and the coaching staff got together at Tampa Bay, and yeah, 3-1, not terrible. Just 220 yards a game passing, but I think the downfall in the game is this. Tampa Bay is only running for 87 yards a game. And oh, by the way, Detroit's only given up 68 a game. So that makes Baker and Tampa one-dimensional, which might be the downfall for them, for that Detroit defense to go get them. And oh, by the way, Detroit has a pretty good running game. They lost a running back. I get it. It hurts. But they still have a really good rookie running back. What's his name? Nettie, like something. Anyway, he's really good. I like him a lot. And then they have Montgomery, also from the Bears, really good running back. So, yeah, I think Detroit, I don't want to take anything away from Baker and Tampa Bay, but I think Detroit is a better football team here.
David Montgomery has also made the rounds as far as one, having changed positions, but now with the Lions as a running back, and then they're now second on the depth chart, Craig Reynolds, because Gibbs is questionable.
Gibbs, that's who it is.
Gibbs is questionable. Yep. Who knows?
That Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be a fantasy stud if he stays healthy.
So you're going Lions on this
one.
one.
Easily. Yeah. I hope it's close. I don't think it is. And, so I just saw a commercial last night, and it said Game of the Week, Philadelphia Jets. And I went, wait a minute. How is Detroit, Tampa for the second half, right? The 3:00 game. 3:00 game of the week was Philly Jets. And we already know all the multiple issues wrong with the Jets. And Philly, who's probably a double-digit favorite. I don't even know what the odds are in that game. But how is this game right here for the 3:00 games not the must-see game, right?
So this goes back to earlier when we were talking about, well, if Aaron Rodgers was still at the quarterback, it would be, because no matter what the record is, Aaron Rodgers is still must-watch television.
Fact, yeah.
So what you said is why did they have that commercial? Well, you're a marketing guy, and you come in and you come to your marketing team like, all right, we know it's the Jets, but please make us a commercial and promo this game.
We need somebody to watch it?
Yeah, for the Eagles and the Jets.
Yeah, to me, one of the best games coming up this weekend is this game. And I think by all said and done at the end, it might not be as close as we hope. But, I mean, even Cardinals-Rams, 3 o'clock game, I think is going to be better than the Eagles-Jets. And by the way, Eagles looks like they're favored by almost 6.5, 7 points. So, whatever.
So you went Lions, I'm going Bucks. I feel...
You love Baker Mayfield. I know you do.
I'm not saying I love Baker Mayfield. I just think he has more to prove. He has more to prove to everybody. Now, Dan Campbell is doing an amazing job, and it's tougher on the road, no matter where you're at.
Yep.
It's still Florida, so you're still going to deal with humidity. It's 3:25 in the afternoon, so it's peak heat, peak humidity. You're coming in. Florida's team might be a little better conditioned for that. Not necessarily overall conditioning. I'm just giving the tip of the cap to the home team.
Okay.
That's it. I feel the Lions are slightly better defensively. I feel the Buccaneers are slightly more lucky at home. That's all it comes down to. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel that the home team...
Kansas City.
Right. I feel the home team might be just a little luckier.
So, would you like me to send a couple emails and maybe I can get the Bucks and Denver talking for a Mayfield Wilson trade? And get you Baker Mayfield?
So completely off topic. I didn't use any timer today, and we've already ran over the hour mark. So we're gonna push forward.
Okay.
Because I have to go to work today yet, and I have to edit this, and then as soon as you're done talking, you get to leave. So my job has just started. Is Dak the issue? Are the coaches the issue? Dak has a QB, as a QB, had 3 interceptions against the Niners, which I understand because the Niners can pressure the dickens out of you. He dropped a game versus the Cardinals, and now with an injury to Leighton Vander Esch on defense, who's probably going to go on IR. Maybe they've already put him there.
He is. He's already there.
Trayvon Diggs, a great cornerback for their defense, is also on IR. Diggs had 17 interceptions the last 3 seasons. What will they do? Can they bounce back against the Chargers Monday night? And with the October 31st trade deadline nearing, who would they try and trade for? Now, those are a lot of questions to be asked. Who knows if anybody can answer them? But the Cowboys are on the road 3-2 at the Chargers 2-2 Monday night.
Yeah, and to me, it's a lot of it has to do with Dak. If you watch the game, the one pick wasn't his fault. I'll give him that. The other 2 are definitely his fault. The one tip pass is just, I don't put those on the quarterbacks. Just, nice defensive hands in the way. He's missing a lot. Just the reads. I get it's a new offense, this Texas Coast thing that they want to talk about. But again, big games, big players step up. Cowboys don't have one. Cowboys have yet to have a player step up in a big game and take it over. If it be Pollard, CeeDee Lamb, Dak, I don't care. Even flipping on the defensive side, Micah was a no-show, a complete no-show against the Niners. DeMarcus Lawrence had some nice things. Van Der Esch was probably the best player. So, no, I don't think they get it done. They go on the road to the Chargers. Like you said, they've lost a few games, but they've been extremely good. They, wins against Minnesota and the Raiders are last 2. They did drop one in Miami, but it was 36-34. So they can score. I think one of the problems with Dallas, by the way, is they can't score. Those points that we were getting, those 30, 40 points, defensive scores, offense has not really done anything. So I give the nod to the Chargers this weekend at home, mainly because, again, the Cowboys have very little offense. And the only thing to me, if I'm Quinn, I'd move Micah back to middle linebacker and he'd stay there the rest of the year.
I'm also going Chargers, and that's all I have on this game. And we're going to go on to This Week in Sports, if you have some fun stuff for us.
Yeah, so baseball's winding down. We're going to the playoffs. In 1969, Billy Martin was 97-65, won the AL West for the Twins, and was fired. I have no idea why. Obviously, I wasn't even around. I found that very funny. But I do know Billy Martin has a little history with ownership, so I'm guessing they must have butted heads about something.
Oh, I bet they had words.
Right. 1971, so right now World Series games are pretty much 7 p.m., 6 p.m., correct? 1971 was the first ever World Series night game between the Pirates and the O's. So I thought that was very interesting that it was 1971's first night game. And then I had one other one. It's mostly a lot of Olympics and hockey going on, with hockey starting off. So, and then, of course, you got a lot of baseball first in the thing. So again, playoffs are going on, and all the top teams are out except for Astros. So I thought that was very interesting also.
My final thoughts are about the NBA, and we are in full-on NBA preseason mode right now. We've had some good showings with some teams that have had some acquisitions during the offseason. There is some preseason tonight with the Heat and the Spurs, and then the Warriors are at the Lakers. It is preseason. But what I wanted to talk about, Lakers battle Denver, opening night, Tuesday, October 24th. And then the Suns are at the Warriors. So for an opening night schedule, Lakers rematch against Denver. I don't see the Lakers getting it done.
Yeah, I mean, they won't have anything to say about being tired or anything like this. They were first game of the season, so they all should be fresh-legged and healthy.
And I can't wait for the Suns to play the Warriors because Chris Paul gets to battle his team, his former team.
Big changes. No Ayton, no Chris Paul. There's a couple other guys that are changed, right? So...
But the Suns reloaded some main characters, and you still have
Durant and Booker, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's going to be a great opening night game.
Who does Celtics have opening night? I haven't even looked.
So the opening night for the Celtics is not until let's see, the very next night, Wednesday, and they play the Knicks on the road.
That's a nice little battle. That should start off with a win there.
Right. So opening night is Tuesday, and there's just 2 games. But then Wednesday, it's a full slate of, let's see. Oh, wow. There's more than 10 games. You have the Hawks at the Hornets. You have the Wizards at the Pacers, the Celtics at the Knicks, the Rockets at the Magic, Cavs at the Nets, Pistons at the Heat, Timberwolves at the Raptors, Thunder at the Bulls, Pelicans at the Grizzlies, Kings at the Jazz, Mavericks at the Spurs, which I can't wait to see. I want to see Wembanyama take on the Mavericks against that 2-headed monster who hate to pass the ball to anybody but themselves.
Yeah.
I think we all know who we're talking about, Kyrie and Doncic. And then the final game on the slate there, Trailblazers at Clippers. So
Tuesday's just week 0, like there's 2 games. But so your opening night's really Wednesday.
But it's NBA. They spread it. They spread it out.
To.
They spread it out over the entire week. So it'll be fun.
And we talked, the NBA is really pushing for the 65 games. They have in their contract that players should be playing, I think 62 games a year, and they're trying to get away from the resting too many players in the big times, right? So it'll be interesting how many sit on the road these days and instead of having to actually have to play.
Yeah, it'll be interesting how the coaches word it. Oh, he had a hangnail, or he had extreme migraines, or cramping, or lower back soreness, any of those. Any other final thoughts?
Nope.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for listening. We are the Blue Collar Sports Talk team. Daryl.
See you.
That was James. Go watch some sports.